Hello and welcome back to another episode of Gaming at the Round Table. I'm Crystal with Maverick and JoJo.
Hello.
So today is the second day of the new year. It's officially 2025.
Happy New Year!
Woo!
Woo! So there are a lot of games coming out this year. I know there are a couple that I'm very excited for. How about you guys? Anything good on the list?
Good.
Well, they're bringing back one continuing series, which I'm real happy about, and then they're bringing one back from when I was a kid, so I'm extra excited about that. So that's what I'm looking for.
Nice. What about you, Maverick?
It's a vague recollection. Yes, there are several games that I'm excited about, a few of which I'll talk about because they're kind of related to us a little bit. But yeah, lots of games in the upcoming year. Some remakes and some not.
Well, I'm going to kick it off because I'm actually quite excited about this one. We talked about it a little bit, so you guys already probably know which one I'm going to talk about. But Elden Ring Night Rain.
Mm-hmm.
I saw more about it, and
I was gonna say,
now
I heard something about it too.
I'm excited but confused, but also feel like it was made for us because it plays. So, from what I hear, it plays well with one player or three. But two-player doesn't play well.
I've heard a lot of people are like, why would they do this? And regardless, I have no idea. I don't care. But it is ironic that there are three of us. So we'll definitely have to try it out. And
we could torture test it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We all finally...
It'll be a stress test. There we go.
Yes, in all senses. We finally got JoJo onto the Sony train.
Yes.
He may not be riding the train, but he's on the train. I don't know.
I was on it, then I was off of it, but now I'm somewhere in the middle.
He has what we have, and now we can play on the same console for any game that's console exclusive or just easier to play on the same console. One of the biggest issues we face, not to derail, I'll keep it short, is the Xbox Party Chat, Discord, PlayStation Chat. It was just never, it didn't feel good. So it's really nice to be able to all communicate at the same time now. So look forward to more content around that.
Yes. So name one of yours.
Sure. So I'll start with one that I have less to talk about, but I am super excited about, which is Hyper Light Breaker.
Ooh.
It is a prequel, but the second made game to Hyper Light Drifter, which was an indie game that I really, really loved. And I didn't actually know it was super famous when I played it. It's got a pretty good cult following. If it's even that small, it might even be just straight up huge. So Hyper Light Drifter was really cool. It's kind of this pixel, classic indie, very aesthetic, artistic game. Action, fast paced.
Okay.
And Hyper Light Breaker is going to take that single player experience and they're going to make it cooperative with other people. So
you don't say.
I'm really excited about. Now, the part that you guys might be a little less excited about is the fact that Hyper Light Breaker or the Breakers, it's supposedly what's that genre of game you guys get frustrated with? Roguelite.
You
Yes.
monster.
We're going to have fun. We're going to enjoy it. It's going to be great.
And 2025 is going to be full of a stress test.
There's a lot of roguelites. They're becoming more and more popular. And I think that they're being done more and more in a way that you can actually enjoy. Whereas I feel like some of the OG famous ones were just break your controller and walk away. So that's one I'm really excited about, Hyper Light Breaker. I had more written down about it, but that's the short story.
I'm going to touch on one that I mentioned prior, and that's, excuse me, Borderlands 4.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited about it because Borderlands 3 was a good, solid one for me. Mm-hmm. Then they had the Borderlands...
Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Which I enjoyed. I played it. I had fun. I play the games not taking it serious because I understand the amount of jokes and stuff that are in it.
Mm.
If you listen to the audio of these games,
It's
You will
wild.
never not be entertained. It is the funniest stuff to hear.
Yeah.
But I think with the movie, it kind of like hurt them a little bit because that was considerably a flop. So I'm happy to see they're kind of going back on brand and sticking to it. I did hear they're kind of pulling the punches with certain jokes, but I think some of those are okay to come out. But I'm just excited from what I saw in the previews.
Hmm.
So again, that's something I'm pretty excited to see.
I remember that headline, less toilet talk. They less of a focus on it anyway.
I wonder why.
I mean, they were really, really heavy. Like instead of like a loot box, you had to go to like a porta potty.
I mean, that's what made
get
the
stuff out of it.
game
I think it works,
quirky.
but just like the Saw movies, right?
Oh, it's too much.
After a while, you're like, okay,
Meh.
it brings something else to the table, right?
Yeah.
So I think Borderlands made its impression, and then it got its vibe is there, and as long as they keep the vibe, cool. But I'm perfectly okay with it not being 100% all the time, dumpster humor.
Do you know if that game is also going to be co-op? Like,
I mean, that
3?
is part of their
Their
from
thing.
every version of the game. It's at least 4-player co-op.
The online media would just be losing their minds if they were like Borderlands, but no co-op.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of felt that way when they took co-op out of Halo.
Yeah.
When they had added it in, I think that hurt that series pretty bad.
Mhm.
So I think for them to take it out of this would be a monstrous just
Yeah.
step off.
I basically only play Borderlands to play with other people. So
Yeah. Well, speaking of other games you can play with other people, I'm gonna go on to my next one.
yes.
This one, I was actually a little shocked by because I didn't know what to expect when I was looking into it. It's called Stage Fright. It's made by the same people who made Overcooked.
I'm out.
My
But-
kids liked Overcooked. So.
You
No,
know-
nothing against Overcooked. I don't like scary games.
It's
Stage Fright is not a scary game?
well, I mean,
it might be like a
it's
play on the words.
it's kind of a scary game, but like it's not
Kind of?
like a horror game. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like a
It's not like Dead Space horror.
you're like Joe's kids could play this game and be okay, you know?
I mean, they.
I wouldn't be too sure about that, but
But the cool thing about it is that it's co-op. So again, we're sticking with that, but it's split screen co-op,
Oh.
and each side of the screen looks entirely different. So it's like you're running on the same street, but things look different as you're running down the same street.
so
That-
each person's on a different substance.
Basically.
That sounds weird.
Basically, yes.
That actually reminds me of what they're doing with the predecessor, the company that made It Takes Two.
Mhm.
Their
Mhm.
newest game is doing something really similar to that. So apparently, 2025 is the year for split screen,
I'm happy to see it.
a new take on split screen.
You know what I'm just happy to see? That almost every single one of these games we've talked about are co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're actually taking note and starting to bring back couch co-op.
I think they're realizing more couples are playing games,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're kind of nodding to it in a way, which I think is amazing
Yeah.
because it's a good way to get people to like really do things together. Because that's always been like a stigma or a joke. It's like whenever Call of Duty or something comes out, a lot of people make those memes about, oh, your boyfriend's gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Like say
yeah.
bye to this, and then you see like someone just sitting on the couch by themselves. So I think it's a good thing.
I always get a kick out of those because in my relationship with Maverick, it's me on Apex and him
Yeah.
doing
There's a
other
new
things.
season that dropped? Okay, well, I guess I'll play an RPG now.
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
So I don't think the two other ones that I have are co-op, but
Monster.
they've got their own vibe. And there's one I want to save for last. You know what? No, I'm going to dive right in. So Slay the Spire 2. First of all, Slay the Spire is a popular card-based RPG roguelite. So Balatro, on the topic of the Game Awards recently, Balatro is a card game that won some awards, and it's very well liked by the community currently. It wasn't my cup of tea, aesthetically, or just the game loop and that kind of thing. And it's funny because it's a roguelite RPG, Balatro is, but the subtle difference between using like regular deck cards, king, queen, 1 through 9, whatever, versus using cards in a roguelite RPG that has like imagery of monsters and magic, and just the setting made a world of difference for me. Like all the difference.
Whenever I think of magic cards, I just think of Yu-Gi-Oh, man. I can't help it.
Yep. Additionally, with Slay the Spire, they've got it'll be this early access, which is a whole nother podcast topic about how early access is now becoming the norm, like long-term early access. So Hades 2 is doing it. They're a very successful indie company. Slay the Spire 2 this year, they're releasing their game as early access for an extended period of time. So we should probably talk about that in future podcasts, but they'll be doing that this year on Steam for sure. And the other thing that I keep doubling down on with Slay the Spire 2 is that it was made in Godot. They originally started in Unity. Unity messed up. And they switched to Godot, did a trial run, made a game that you can read about on their website. And it went pretty well. And they were like, okay, great. We'll make it in Godot. And they did. And so I'm very looking forward to it, not just because it's a cult favorite upcomer, but also because it's using the same game engine we are. And so that's like really nice. If they can do it, well, hopefully we can do it too. I had a couple of other notes on it, but that's, I actually, just so you guys can visualize this, and maybe we'll pop it up on YouTube. If you take just a moment, you can see some of the images I attached in my thread on our chat, where you can see that there's people like fighting. They actually have figures fighting. It's not 100% just staring at cards. And that's kind of what I meant by it's got this dark magical, dark forest vibe to it. And for me, that made a huge world of difference, even just looking at it versus, say, Balatro.
So
Shots fired.
I'm going to immediately segue off of that. The second game I'm going to talk about is actually the original game that came out was in 1997. So I'm going to assume...
Final Fantasy VII?
No, 1997.
1997 came out in Final Fantasy.
It
came out in Final Fantasy.
It came out in Final Fantasy? Yeah, that was...
Whatever, continue with what you were saying.
I was saying the original version of this game came out in 1994. So the original game, the best way to describe it is kind of like a dinosaur version of Doom. That's how it felt playing it.
I know the game you're talking about. It starts with a T.
Yeah, the game is Turok. The original one was Turok Dinosaur Hunter. The new one that's going to be coming out is Turok Origins. So that's something I'm looking forward to kind of see how they redo the whole thing. There was a second version from what I'm reading, and then they had another release of a remastered in 2002 to 2015. They started releasing remasters of it, but again, the original was in 1997. Which
7 or 4, because you've said both dates.
There was different dates, but I think they started making it. No, it's because there was a comic in 1994. If I said 94 by mistake, my eyes
caught. This game looks good.
So Turok, even the old one, was very good. In fact, it was co-op too. I remember playing with you. Now, whether we were taking turns, it's hard to remember that long ago.
It still says battle alone or as a team.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, it was... That's why I mentioned that it was kind of like a dinosaur version of Doom with the way that it was playing. And I mean, it was pretty gory considering the time it came out, which is, again, why the tie into Doom. But if you look at Turok, you can kind of see how modern games took from their themes. And there's an ongoing series that I would say that kind of took a little bit from it, and that's
Is
what's her
it
name?
the
She's
massive?
got red hair.
Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon.
Yeah. If you look at Horizon and you kind of look at the cover of the Turok Origins, they're kind of similar with it being, instead of robotic, it's actual dinosaurs.
Dinos.
Yeah.
So I feel like they kind of took something from that and then made it robotic for that series, which I'm in no way taking from that series because that series is very, very good. But I think this is kind of where they got some of their ideas. Now that they're redoing it, people can kind of see it.
Do you think you're excited about Turok because it looks like a good game that you happen to recognize, or do you think it's primarily rooted in the fact that you love the original?
I think it's a tad bit of nostalgia, but I think it's the fact that it's kind of its own thing. Because I don't know if I had mentioned it just in conversation with you guys or just on a podcast, but I feel like they're trying to feed on people's nostalgia and remake things and kind of change it way too much. But when you can kind of take something and make it its own thing inside of that world, you can get away with a lot more. I think I mentioned it towards like movies and them taking established like storylines and then over tweaking it. Yeah. But I think this has a chance, and it looks good.
It really
so for
does.
me, that's my number 2 on my list.
We'll have to flash some images. Dinosaurs. Can you imagine the editor was like, no context whatsoever? It's just like Into the Land of the Dinosaurs, old movie cartoon thing. Maybe we'll do
Put a T-Rex with, I got little arms.
Oh my God. Well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up.
Oh, I have one game left.
Oh, well.
Someone's always got to go for his odd numbers.
You can.
No,
it's
get it
over
out.
now.
Quick,
the moment's gone.
Quick.
All right, fine. So Citizen Sleeper 2 is, I'm pretty sure it's an indie game. It looks and screams indie. I don't have the developer written down, but I'll have to get that later. Citizen Sleeper 2 is obviously number 2 in a series. It's a vibe game. Like, it's got lovely music, an awesome aesthetic, and you basically sit in space and you play through this RPG. And to me, it's the RPG space version of the Tetris game with music. It's a very weird spiderweb connection here, but for your guys' benefit, I put in a YouTube video of it. I don't think I can do it justice by just talking about it because it just sounds crazy, right? You're in space and it's an RPG and you're just kind of like existing. But check it out, look up a short video, and I think you guys everyone will be interested in it. If you like indie games, this is like awesome looking.
The art style is really neat.
Yeah, it's so like its own thing that on a podcast, I can't do it justice.
It kind of reminds me of the series that's on Max that got a couple of awards. I'm blanking on the name of it, but the artistic feel looks a lot like that.
It's got this cozy but mysterious sci-fi vibe to it. You know, if lo-fi had a video game, this would be it. So check it out. Thanks for waiting.
Yes. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Happy New Year's again, guys. This has been an episode with the Owl Knights Media. I'm struggling right now.
Your name is Crystal.
I'm Crystal, and that's Maverick and Joe. Thank you for joining us. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.